Good evening. I'm Mitch Goldblatt. This is the regular meeting of the Orange Recycling Committee. Today is Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. So we are ready to begin. We'll call the meeting to order. And is there any public input for this evening? Susan, I'm looking at you because you're our public.
I am, Mr. Public, or Ms. Public. I want to thank you, Mitch, for inviting Jennifer to the meeting. It is just an overwhelmingly awesome, to me, website that HURA has, and all of their objectives and goals are very clearly stated, a lot of education. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say, and I have some questions if there's time, and if not, I'll email her.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt everyone. There's some back audio going on. If somebody has the feed, if they could turn it down, or if they have a TV on in the background, we can hear it. Whoever has the stream going on the OGAT television.
Yep. All right. We can continue. Josh, thank you. Like the voice of God coming in, you know. Mark, you wanted to say something?
Oh, you called the meeting to order. I was just looking for the official time you called.
It was 7:05. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okie doke. All right, next is review and approve the minutes of February 22nd, 2021. Are there additions or corrections to the minutes? If
Well, I
not,
found that.
is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, I'll move. So move.
Okay, motion made by Loretta, seconded by Chris.
Chris, yes.
Okay, if we're any other, Loretta, you're just approving as presented, right?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. And I forgot, we should have the people who are here tonight introduce themselves. So I'll start with Loretta. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Loretta Smith. Is that sufficient? Is that
That's
just like?
sufficient. Yep.
All right.
Okay. Mark and Eileen.
Mark Moyer.
Eileen Moyer.
Chris.
Hi there, Chris Prokop.
And I'll say Wendy's joined us as well.
Hooray.
Wendy, introduce yourself.
Wendy Novick.
Very good. Okay. We're up to the treasurer's report. Mark, what do you got to tell us?
There's been no change. I think the balance was like $1,904 and change. I can't remember the exact figure off the top of my head, but no change in the past month.
Okay. Next up is the recycling participation rates. A couple things to mention about that. First of all, I caught, and Mark also caught, the fact that what I sent to you previously was an incorrect total. And by the way, tonight, just before this meeting at like 6:55, I sent you all a couple other attachments if you're able to open them. One of which is a corrected recycling tonnage rate. And we showed February was down slightly from last February with 64.09 tons. So we're down 3.2%, showing us so far in the first 2 months of 2021 down 11.5%. So we've dropped a bit, and but hopefully we'll pick up when weather picks up as well. Now, that number in February is about a ton less than what it would have or could have or should have been, because there was about 1.2 tons that were contaminated and rejected. Had a discussion with Sylvie today. She was looking into it. She was not able to get back to me in time. So I don't know the reason for that. My guess is plastic bags. Don't know for sure. But, you know, it's imperative that we all try to make sure that not only for us, but everybody in town is recycling those things that are recyclable and belong in the bins, both at the transfer station and at home. And so it's just important that we keep that going. I know the loss of the shed, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, is not helping the matter, but still it's important because if a load's rejected, not only do we not get credit for the recycling, we also have to pay for it to be disposed, which is more expensive than recycling and doesn't help at all. So when in doubt, throw it out. If you don't know if it's recyclable or not, if you're questioning it, it should be thrown out. That's the safer thing to do. Loretta.
It was rejected. What was rejected? The big shipping container with the bottles and cans?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was one that came directly from the transfer station or one that came from residential pickup. That's what I was asking Sylvia to look into. She did not know what the cause was. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Rest of the day with that. All right. Any other questions about residential recycling? If not, we will move on to textile recycling with Simple Recycling. I also sent off to you just tonight because I just got the numbers this afternoon. February also was down. That's expected because the winter months we don't usually recycle as much with the textiles, or even when Goodwill was here, as you do in the spring and summer. But we're down 8,004 pounds of material was picked up by Simple Recycling in February. That gained the town $460.23. So every pound is a good pound. So it's, once again, things that we're recycling, things that are staying out of the waste stream. Hopefully we'll have a good month in April as we're encouraging people, as we'll talk about later, to bring things to High Plains on April 10th. With Simple Recycling, we have had a couple of small issues, most of it being concerns at the transfer station with things being left behind and also the trailer not being cleaned out. I've had several, that means 2 or 3, phone calls, text, emails with Sonny Wilkins from Simple Recycling to make sure that his attendant is taking care of things. And I was assured that this week it finally was. After being accosted the last 2 weeks going to the transfer station on Saturday as to complaints, although it's not like the trailer was overflowing. They're just frustrated that things are being left behind. And so it should be taken care of. Part of the problem is just the fact that there are things being left in the trailer that are not picked up by Simple Recycling. Large furniture, even though the attendants try to stop people, sometimes that ends up in there and it's not a good thing. Televisions should be left with electronics. So it's mostly smaller stuff, but still making good gains with our textile recycling with Simple Recycling. Any questions on that? Eileen?
When you say no large furniture, are you talking like large furniture, like sofas, or do you mean like people who shouldn't even put chairs in there if they have a upholstered chair?
I don't think they want upholstered folding chairs. They've taken. I don't think they want anything upholstered chairs or any. A small coffee table is probably fine, but anything bigger than that is not. Kitchen tables are not. That kind of thing. Okay. Certainly no big chairs, no couches, no large shelving either. It doesn't.
Yeah, that was there.
Yeah, it was there, and it had to be taken out. But anyway, so. We continue to progress as people learn what can go there and what doesn't.
Yes.
All right, we're going to skip the next item on the agenda for the time being. Our guest is supposed to arrive in a little while. She had a conflict this evening with another meeting, her own meeting, but she wants to appear with us later, so we'll leave it for later. Old business, plastic bag shed at the transfer station. I think I call it the bane of my existence. So at the last meeting, after the last meeting, we had a meeting with Home Depot on February 24th. And so, Chris, you want to fill everybody in where we stand?
Sure. I actually did get to speak to Matt, the manager, and thanks to Bob from Rotary and Mitch joined on February 24th. So they've opened up they've redirected their resources and their attention to now following through on all these various requests across the the nation, from what I understand. So we were able to get back in. Rotary signed the documentation that will allow us to move forward with the shed. I spoke to Matt, and they are a little behind. So I do appreciate everyone's patience still, but it does look more hopeful that he is reporting that they should have something by next week in the way of the funding. It's kind of a transfer of the funding to Rotary, which Rotary is then helping us, thankfully, to get the actual item over there to the transfer station. Matt did speak to the shed company because it's going to be professionally installed. And he is said they're about 2 weeks out as well. So he's got them lined up for the shed. We're anticipating, according to corporate, he said the funding is being approved. They've gotten everything they needed, so I think that is helpful to hear. They've received everything from the town and from us, from Home Depot. So now it's just a matter of them authorizing and the funding coming to purchase the shed and to have it installed. I did share with him, Mitch, that Bob from Public Works has made himself available with, once we schedule, to arrange where, how it's going to be placed and what's going to be needed to help it remain there. So I am hopeful we'll see some activity, but I know it's been frustrating, and it's hard for residents that are trying to figure out what to do with all these bags and not, contaminate the other containers. But I'm staying on top of it. Let's put it that way. And hopefully we'll have some movement and perhaps even get it towards seeing something next month.
Thank you so much, Chris, for staying on top of that. You've been wonderful and staying on top, staying in touch with Home Depot and making sure they don't forget us.
Yes.
Even though they can see the transfer station from where they are.
That's right. That's right. And they see and hear me quite a bit these days. So appreciate that. Still picking up their phone after I keep calling.
And you're correct. Our Public Works Director, Bob Britton, is going to make himself available when they're able to stake out exactly where the shed's going to go to make sure everything's well. And we also talked about the placement of some protection around it with a bollard or two possibly put in there. He didn't see a problem with that, but we first have to, lay it out first as to exactly where it's going to go, because it will be a bit bigger than the previous sheds that were there. So we'll go from there. Eileen, you have your hand up.
Yes. First of all, I would like to suggest that we name the shed the Chris Prokop Center. The day I was wondering, with all these other people that are involved, the Home Depot guy, Bob, etc., could we arrange one day on a Saturday or something for everybody to meet there, do a photo op?
Yes.
For the newspaper, get Terry Miles there, all of that. Can we do that?
As soon as it's put up, we'll all be there. We'll take a bottle of champagne and crack it on the side. But that may knock it down.
Oh, don't do that.
Can we do it just once?
Then you'll have to recycle the bottle.
Yes, which we'll talk about that later too. But there's also been, and with the shed not being there, I'm sorry, Chris, are you done? I didn't want to cut you off.
Yes, that is all. That's all. Thanks, Mitch.
So with the shed not being there, and hence the rack and pack with the large bag of bags not being there, there has been some very conflicting stories given to me from the transfer station, from residents. One in particular who was very distressed and wrote to Orange Recycles. And people, and we had to do a little bit of re-educating of the transfer station staff, because there was a thinking that because when the full bag of bags gets put in with the rest of the recycling that goes to Oak Ridge, and is easily separated there, that people should just put their bags in with the recycling. And so a couple people let me know that, one in particular who said, this does not seem right. There's big signs that say the bags go here, the bags don't go there. By the next weekend, first of all, I talked to Director Britton about it. He re-instructed the people at the transfer station, a couple who were filling in. And then I went down there one of the weekends and talked to the attendants down there, and basically, once again, basically said, single bags will contaminate the load. They will jam the gears. They will be they're a huge, huge problem. If the bags are put into a very large bag, they're easily separated at Oak Ridge and therefore not put in with the single stream. They're actually separated. And that's what needs to be done. But some people did not understand that concept, and therefore bags were being put into the big bin with bottles, cans, newspapers, etc., which is, as we know, a big no-no. So I think we've got that straightened out, at least from the transfer station personnel. We're hoping that the residents also comply with that as well. So just want to bring everyone up to date on that situation and issue that was going on there. I don't know if anybody else experienced anything like that or heard of anything else. No?
No, I just, like I told you one time I went there, I asked what to do and they told me throw it in the hopper. I'm like,
Yeah,
Well,
that's pretty common.
throwing in the hopper is actually better than
Yeah.
going in with the bottles and cans.
Is echoing. I can't understand him.
Mark, try that again.
well, I said that they told me just to throw them in the hopper, which I just took them home.
Yes, good.
Yeah. And
Good.
I'm asking people, in the meantime, to, hold on to them or bring them to one of the merchants in town that does recycle bags. Most of you, or not all of you, should have received the email I put out about Shredding Day, which also included information about the shed and what to do with bags. So, that went out to a couple hundred of our closest friends.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully, education. That's what this committee is about.
Yes.
Part of our charge. Okay. We already talked about simple recycling. That's transfer station. The tour of Oak Ridge, we're going to hold off obviously but we're getting closer. As people are getting vaccines, we're getting closer to a time when hopefully we'll be able to get that tour of the recycling plant and see for ourselves how all this works. So Shredding Day is April 10th, which is between now and our next meeting. So we've got to line everything up. Mark has indicated we need a bill from Joe Johnson. So we'll have a check ready for him on April 10th. I will also notify. So Mark, I'll notify Joe when I get that. I'll give it to you, and also let Rotary know the exact amount to send to us as we pass that through from Rotary to us to the town of Orange to pay Affordable Solutions for the shredding services that are done on April 10th. As I had indicated in my email and in our press release that went out, and Terry Miles has printed that or published it at least 3 times now, which is great, very, very appreciative of that, is that we are going to attempt to do this as orderly and as easily as possible with people lining up. I have talked to Don Foyer of the Highway Department. We're going to get some sawhorses from the Highway Department.
Great.
That'll help us, get funnel traffic into a single file. I've asked live here tonight, I will, and live on the Board of Selectmen meeting, as well as in our emails and in our press releases, asking people to please put their documents in either paper bags or cardboard boxes that don't need to be returned. That makes things a lot smoother, because once you drop off your documents, you can just go and not hold up the person behind you. For people that insist on getting their boxes back, we're gonna have to have them pull off to the side over by the walking track and wait there.
Good.
To keep the line moving. One thing we don't want to have happen, this is a popular event, as we all know, we don't want traffic to be pushed out to Orange Center Road. That would be a problem. So I'm looking forward to the help. Katie Clark, who has been to some of our meetings, has emailed me. She's planning on helping us again that day. I
Wonderful.
appreciate her help, volunteering to help. Anybody else wants to help, plus the Rotary Club members. I think we'll have, enough people there. It's just a case of keeping things moving as steadily as possible. And Chris, I think it was you or Mark, somebody mentioned last time, we'll also talk to Joe about those that don't need to watch their documents shredded, seeing if we put, excess documents in the van, because we know we fill that shredding truck every time.
Every time.
And so would expect no less this time, as the way this has been a popular event. So
20 hours again?
9 to noon. And
9 to noon.
I say 9. There are people there before 9. It's kind of like early birds at the tag sale.
Yes.
But we'll do our best to accommodate. Joe is usually there a little bit early to get set up as well. But we can't promise we start before 9, but we will if we can. But we'll see how that goes. So that's part 1. Part 2 is the mattress collection. We're all set. The Connecticut Mattress Council and Bye Bye Mattress will be there with a truck for people to bring mattresses, box springs, any size. That'll be a separate collection.
Great.
And if people want to have their mattresses or box springs picked up because they are bulky and it's difficult for some people to get, either because of the time period or just because they don't have the vehicle to get it there, or just want the convenience, or want to just help the Lions Club, a $10 donation to the Lions Club for each box spring or mattress will get your mattress or box spring picked up at your house, as long as it's either in the garage or under the porch where it's in a dry spot. People can do that by calling Ken Lenz, 203-795-3906. That's 203-795-3906 to let Ken and the Lions Club know your address and where to pick up, and a check or cash to the Lions Club will help that be taken care of. So that's number 2. Number 3 is that we want people to be aware of the simple recycling bin and drop-off point that is behind High Plains, right at the entranceway to the cafeteria. And we're encouraging people to bring clothes, shoes, and small things there at the same time. They can drop those off and get people used to where the simple recycling drop-off bin is at High Plains, which is available 24/7, unlike the transfer station. If people have things, especially on a Sunday or times the transfer station's closed, in the summertime, early evening, just drop by there to drop things off. But certainly we were encouraging people to bring things on April 10th. And number 4, we were approached by the Orange Country Fair Committee. They want to do a food drive the same day. I spoke to Pat McCorkle about that, and we talked about how they would, I think, line up or be set up under the pavilion near the walking track, and would collect food for a food drive sponsored by the Orange Country Fair. So it is one-stop shopping on Saturday morning, April 10th. You can clean out your documents, the basement, the attic,
Pantry.
the mattresses, the box springs, the pantry, the clothes racks. It's all there for you. So we're hoping to have a good weather and a great turnout. With that, like I say, the publicity is all out. The email I sent out, instead of sending out 2 days beforehand, I sent out several weeks beforehand so people can prepare. And we just need some help with signage. So I'm looking to Chris, who are my sign people to get out signs?
Yeah, I think the last time Loretta, Patrick, and I, happy to do it again. We'll get the signage. I know last meeting, Eileen and I, we spoke about something to direct folks over to the simple recycling. So I probably was supposed to follow up with Eileen. I forgot to, so we'll have to work on something there. but absolutely, I'll reach out to Patrick and Loretta yourself to, make sure we have enough signage and get them out all over town. That's exciting. It's becoming one of the safest, most productive events in town these days.
Most exciting.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you see everybody. You stay away from them, but you see everybody in town that morning.
Do you think that will there be somebody from Simple Recycling available to maybe come in halfway, because halfway through the time period, because if everybody starts doing it and that little bin gets filled up pretty quickly.
I would love for that bin to be filled up and for some volunteers, and I'll be the first to volunteer.
Yeah,
Take things at the end of the day over to the trailer at the transfer station if that bin fills up.
Same here.
Yeah,
I'll
help.
Love to see that happen. Actually,
Come in.
Me too.
And
is the bin structured in a way that any of us could just open it to take the stuff out to move it, or do they lock? Is it locked?
No, we can't take it out, but obviously, bins like that get filled, and I'd love to see that filled. And if people have to put stuff on the side, we'll make sure that at least for that morning, things will be it'll be clean. It'll be clean around that bin. We'll make sure if there's excess, people bring it. Usually, people bring stuff in bags. So if bags are left at the side of the drop-off point, we'll take them to the transfer station that day. To this, and the result is the same. It ends up in the same place, because when Simple Recycling picks up, which is twice a week, by the way, they stop at both the transfer station and at High Plains each time, so to unload.
There's stuff at High Plains for them to pick up.
Excuse me?
Has the bin at High Plains been used?
It's been used. It's been used sporadically and at very low volumes. So, we're hoping that this will help bring the traffic and get people aware of it more so than they were before.
And we're looking at having it moved in the spring, right?
That's possible. Once like we said, that may be more a logistical problem with the town as to where else to put it. I mean, just because I think it should be closer to the pavilion doesn't mean that'll happen. So
yes, true.
So we'll see. But if we get people used to where it is,
yes,
it's not that far out of the way. It's just around the corner. That's all.
Yeah. Just keep educating.
All right. Anything else for Shredding Day? Are we all set to go? Is everybody any questions or issues we should discuss further?
Does everybody have a T-shirt who's going to be one of our volunteers?
Excuse me?
Is everybody who is going to be a volunteer have a T-shirt?
I think everyone has a T-shirt, and I think we gave Katie one last time, so I think we're good. Okay, next up with some old business. Loretta, you're going to do a little discussion with us about food scraps, I think. Did you find out anything?
I did. I spoke to Steve Vesputa, the grandson of Walter, and he said that he really wasn't interested in it because he was concerned about what might be in the food scraps. You get a little piece of metal or something, and that would be bad for his pigs. So he's not interested in it. And I didn't go to the other, was it the Latella family? Because I thought if they're the only two farmers who raise pigs, would we get enough for the Latella family? I don't even know if we'd get enough for both, but I just started and ended with Steve. Is that sufficient? Okay. You want me to go to Latella's?
No, if you want, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's some logistical problems there, potentially. It's interesting. As a matter of coincidence, I listened to a presentation by Sustainable Guilford to the Guilford Board of Selectmen last week, talking about composting at home and getting compost bins at a very big discount. I think it's only for towns that have participated in the sustainable program with the state, which Orange has not yet, I say. Yeah. But I found it very interesting, and about food scraps and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
How to keep stuff out of the waste stream, especially with the weight that goes with that, and how people were able to, how people were testifying, if you will, as to how efficient it is and how much it reduced the trash that they bring to the transfer station significantly. So I found that of interest.
Have we promoted composting recently?
Loretta's put it in our articles, or her articles, I should say, for our committee.
Okay.
But if we could do something like Guilford, wow.
Yeah.
How do we become sustainable?
Well, they're just getting started with this. It's a long process. The composting is just being introduced, and I got to find out more about the program as to there was a big discount being given to the bins that would be allowed there. So, but just saying that, there's a real push at the state level now to promote composting, and we're going to see more and more of that. So
that's good.
Great.
Good to stay ahead of it. All right. Sorry, Wendy?
I was just going to say, I did the DIY project. I bought a bucket and my husband drilled a bunch of holes in it, and I went to the transfer station and got some mulch or whatever's left in there and filled it with a bunch of garbage and put it out in my backyard. And I haven't looked, it's been there for a couple months, but it's been so cold, I haven't looked at it yet. So I'm interested to see, maybe this weekend, be warmer, I'll pop it open and see what's going on in there. I followed the instructions, and it's just a 5-gallon bucket, and I can fill that up in very quickly. I mean, we eat a lot of grapefruit, and fills up very easily. So I was thinking if it worked, if I did it again, I would get a 10-gallon bucket or something. So.
Oh, and the stuff is beautiful. I have a sizable compost bin, and I put the materials in the spring on my flower beds. The soil that it produces is so friable. It's full of little earthworms. Just exciting.
Yeah, that's what they say. We'll see if mine works.
Yes, I hope so. Let me know.
That's great.
All right. Under new business, I want to go a little bit out of order. I want to take up the pill bottle situation first. Susan is got something to say about this, I think.
About the glass?
About the pill, the number 5. The number 5 pill bottle, right?
Oh, well, one of the places that I found in doing some research is a ministry in Ohio that collects medicine bottles, sterilizes them, and sends them to developing nations that are without any kind of container to put medications in. And so this is a critical need in the world, in some countries, and they are meeting that need. So I have told my friends and neighbors that I'm collecting them, and once I get a box full, I'll send it out to that location.
That's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So these are the just so I make sure I understand this correctly. Yeah. Susan sent me an email about this, and I said I would put it on the agenda under new business. So I have an idea that goes with this, but I first want to ask Susan. So we're talking about basically about this big orange colored bottles that are not recyclable in your bins right now anyway.
Right.
And we're talking about those, and they want them with the caps, correct?
Yes, they do, because they don't have caps. Okay. Yeah. So, right. So you just take off obviously the name and the label like you would anything. And I think it's great to have a place that is reusing them in such a wonderful way. And because I have a bag full, I have no idea what to do with them. Yeah, there's no other.
Good for you.
Well, we'll start saving them for you. Loretta, you had a question, and then I've got a suggestion. Go ahead, Loretta.
Well, yes, I think it would be lovely if we got the address from Susan of where we could mail them, but maybe you have some idea of collecting them at the town transfer or what?
That's exactly my thought.
So
here's my thought. We have a ways to go. When we get a bag shed at the transfer,
yes,
it will be like I said, a bit larger
True.
than the one we had. I'm thinking that if we're able to put up some sort of a box or a bucket, which has a small opening,
Yeah.
with instructions that this is for used medicine, prescriptions, pill bottle type things. And then, we'll see how that goes. And then maybe we try it on a trial basis and perhaps use our resources in our treasury to help send them to where they have to go, the ministries in, was it Ohio, Susan?
Ohio. Mhm.
Mhm,
Ohio.
mhm, mhm.
So that was my thought. So for right now, hold on to them, which I haven't done in a long time because I knew they were comfortable. Hold on to them for Susan, and perhaps we
I'm
can
happy to send them.
set up some sort of a collection at the transfer station. We'll see how that goes and whether it
Yep.
becomes a small success or a big success, and separating those as well. So that's my thought. I don't know how people feel about that, or Mark's got his hand up.
Well, I don't know, in addition to pill bottles, as far as what you get from like a pharmacist, what about the same size bottles where you get your pain relief if you take a leave or ibuprofen?
Right.
like
Yeah,
that?
I'm currently,
Vitamins.
I'm going to clean those and send them as well.
Okay.
Because, and then, I'll contact the ministries, but in the meantime, I do have people that have given me Advil and all of that kind of thing, containers. Mhm.
Okay.
So Susan, you might want to just check with, so hopefully we don't waste our time sending things that they're just going to throw out, because
Exactly.
postage,
Right.
shipping costs. But if they do take that, that's good to know too, because as people on this call, I'm sure are aware, if it's a small pill bottle, that fits in that 2x2 square, right? It's too small or should not be recycled in the blue bin. If it's larger than that, like a big vitamins 300 capsule type thing, that's big enough to go in the blue bin. But the smaller ones are the ones that we're not able to recycle yet at this time. So if they'll take them also, Susan, that'd be great as well. Eileen.
Does anybody know if there's, Whole Foods is still taking them?
They are not since 2019, I believe, or 2020. At least a year. They haven't.
All right. Loretta.
Yes, I think your idea of setting something up at the transfer stations is an excellent idea. If we got something like a garbage can, my friend Tad could drill a little hole in the top and we'd be set to roll.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's even better than I was thinking of a box or something, but that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Even a full large garbage can wouldn't be that heavy with empty pill bottles.
No. And we could put a plastic bag in there so that you just remove the bag and keep filling it up.
Who would man this?
No one.
But who-
I mean, well, somebody, one of us,
Yeah.
Susan, or how we want to work it, depending, maybe once a week, just come by, change out the bag, take what's there,
Mhm.
and see what we can do.
Mhm.
I think it's a great project. I think it's a
Yeah, I
great
think so.
to recycle, and I really appreciate Susan bringing it to our attention. That's
Me
great.
too. Yeah. I hate throwing away those bottles, so this is
Oh, yeah.
wonderful.
You do. I agree with you. Well, I'd be happy to go there once a week.
Yeah,
Phil's
I
always
go-
there. Phil's always there on Saturday. So
Yep.
maybe he'd be willing to pick them up.
So let's
Great.
get a little bit more information, Susan, and then
Yes.
we'll set something up at the time that we'll see how that shed works and whether we're able to put something in the shed at the same time. I think it'd be great.
Great.
So, and Jennifer Heaton Jones has just joined us. So right on time. She said 7:45. She's right on time.
Wonderful.
I love it.
I had this. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Jennifer.
So before I turn over to Jennifer, I'll go one more thing under new business. And this is very timely for Jennifer to listen to, although she's already seen it. Because of Jennifer and the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, I've been trying to keep up with the quote unquote bottle bill extension. and found out from talking to Jennifer the other day, kind of by accident. She says, that bill is coming up this week. As a matter of fact, it's going to be heard by the Environment Committee this Friday.
Cool.
So with that, I've put together some testimony, which is part of what I just sent you right before this meeting. But I'm going to read it to you and hope that what I say in here about having the support of the Recycling Committee can be put to a vote. And then I can really say that that's what it is. And if anybody has any comments or feel that what I'm about to say is inappropriate or something you don't agree with, now is the time. Or you find a mistake that I may have said. And that goes for Jennifer too, because I know she's looked at this already, but I've taken her comments. So this would be a written testimony. I'm going to submit it hopefully tomorrow to the General Assembly, to the Committee on Environment, which is where the bill is being heard. And it has to do with Senate Bill 1037. It's called an Act Concerning Solid Waste Management. And it goes like this. Committee chairs, Senator Cohen and Representative Gresco, and members of the Committee on the Environment. My name is Mitch Goldblatt. I'm a member of the Orange Board of Selectmen and also the chair of the Orange Recycling Committee, which is in support of Senate Bill 1037, an act concerning solid waste management. The entire state of Connecticut requires an overhaul to our recycling program and solid waste management, as tip fees for both municipal solid waste and recycled products continue to rise. In addition, while single stream recycling is certainly the easiest for the consumer, it is not always the most beneficial nor cost efficient for our recycling purposes. Thus, Senate Bill 1037 assists both of these efforts by expanding our returnable beverage containers, which will result in more plastic, aluminum, and glass bottles and cans being separated before recycling, which will significantly increase our recycling rates and reduce the amount of contamination at municipal recycling facilities. In 2020, the Container Recycling Institute determined that Connecticut has just 76% of its beverage units covered by the deposit program. New York, California, and others, including Maine, are at 91%, are all ahead of us. Senate Bill 1037 will go a long way to bring us up among the leaders in this recycling effort. According to TAMRA, Connecticut's beverage container recovery rates for recycling is just 50%, which is well below the national average of 72%. By increasing our redemption containers to include non-carbonated beverages beyond just water bottles and add hard seltzer, hard cider, and eventually wine and liquor bottles, we will come much further to reaching our true potential. In addition, the addition of wine and liquor bottles alone will remove one of the heaviest cost burdens currently facing single-stream cycling. In addition, raising the deposit amount from 5 cents to 10 cents will serve as a greater incentive for consumers to redeem such containers and should boost Connecticut's redemption rates to be among the best in the nation. We need to pay more attention to our recycling efforts now before we lose control of this major environmental initiative altogether. On behalf of the Orange Recycling Committee and many other concerned and caring citizens, I urge you to vote yes for Senate Bill 1037, an act concerning solid waste management, and followed by my name. So, thoughts? It's not been submitted yet, so if something doesn't sound right, you want to add something, subtract something, now's the time.
Mitch,
Sounds great.
yeah, it's beautifully written
Yeah, very thorough and well done.
and to the point.
Thanks.
Now they're meeting Friday, 2 days from now.
They're meeting Friday, correct.
So you'll email this to the appropriate.
I'm going to email it tomorrow. I am unable to try and give this testimony in person, but I will email
Right.
it so it become part of the record.
Good, good.
And Connecticut Conference of Municipalities is also going on record as being in favor of this this bill as well,
Oh,
which
perfect.
is also I think a help. And they've been helpful in this too. Yes, Eileen.
Well, to answer your question about do we think anything is missing, I'll throw a question at you, which is, what do you think might be the objection to the bill?
I think that, well, Jennifer probably can answer this better than I can, but I think there's going to be two major objections. One's going to be, from all these industries that don't want to have redeemables tacked onto them, especially the wine and liquor industry, which, by the way, the bill does not move the wine and liquor bottles till I think 2024. They're giving them somewhat of a grace period to ramp up for that. So I think the wine and liquor industry is probably against it just because of the inconvenience. And I think it also is going to, I think the bill also, if it doesn't insist, it certainly encourages liquor stores to have recycling capacity that may not, is sometimes questionable. The second thing is raising the deposit rate from 5 to 10 cents, which I think makes all the sense in the world, especially for someone who sits there for an hour and comes up with about $5.35. It's below minimum wage. But will be seen by some as a excessive user fee, and others will call it a tax. You know, that's going to be part of the, you know, issue that we're raising taxes.
So then should the letter
Thing to say, but that's, you know, it is.
address those?
I'm sorry, Eileen, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
That was it.
So should the letter have a sentence or two that addresses those considerations proactively?
Jennifer, what do you suggest? Do you think we need to do that, or just it's going to be stands for itself? What do you think?
Not necessarily. I think what you wrote is well said, and you support the reasons why and hold to that. You don't give airtime to the opposition. The legislators know what the opposition is. They hear them loud and clear. I've been fortunate to be a part of this process for a very long time. We've been working on it with a coalition for years, and worked with the legislators and have worked with the leadership of the environment. So they're well aware of the concerns. And I think what they've done here is create a pretty good bill with a lot of provisions to consider the opposition, like the distributor's concern of the handling fee increase from 1 1.5 cents to 3.5 cents. That's the fee that reimburses the grocery stores and the redemption centers for handling the material. And the provision is that they get a percentage of that back, a percentage of the unredeemed funds, which is now currently going into the general fund and currently actually being used for campaign funding. So that's what it's used for. You'll also see opposition from the material recovery facilities where our recyclables are going to be sorted, baled, and sold as a commodity. You'll see that they don't want to lose the material that's part of the expansion. That's the expansion of iced teas, juice bottles, etc. So I think all we can do as municipalities is to continue to be clear that we need relief, financial relief from the recycling and waste stream and the cost burdens that we are feeling from the impact of the China sword in the markets, and that we don't completely agree with the MRFs, that although they will see a reduction in that material, we will see a reduction in cost, or not having to go through our system, particularly the wine and liquor bottles. So I'm really happy to see that. And it was a pretty big compromise to have it as a phase-in and not an immediate provision. So Mitch, bottom line is I think your letter is well done, and thank you for your support. And I actually encourage all of you as individuals to submit your own individual testimony, flood the legislators with your support. They need to hear that individuals, their constituents, support it as well. Reach out to your state legislators, your representatives and your senators that either are on the Environment Committee or on appropriations, and let them know that you support this bill. They need to hear from you, especially their voters.
Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. So with that, to back up what I just read, I know this committee has gone on record of supporting the concept of the expansion of the bottle bill, but it would actually be helpful, I think, just to legitimize some of the things I said, if there was a vote tonight that would endorse adoption of Senate Bill 1037. Would someone like to make the motion?
Make the motion.
Mark makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Wendy. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, the Orange Recycling Committee to go on record as supporting Senate Bill 1037, officially entitled An Act Concerning Solid Waste Management, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I will get this submitted to the Environment Committee, as well as make, which I was going to do anyway, copy our local legislators with this letter as well. And thank you. Eileen, was there a question?
All right, me again, just quickly, if I'm going to publicize this on Facebook, would everybody who wanted to write a letter have to have their letter in by Friday?
To get to the Environment Committee, it needs to be in by Friday morning, yes. And I can forward you the information on where that would go. Make myself a note. To forward to everyone. I know it's a little bit of a push. When Jennifer told me just yesterday that it was this Friday, even though I was trying to follow this, I was not up to date with it. And I really appreciate it, because I would have been very upset if I missed the opportunity. Just wasn't able to keep up with this one. So it's great that we had that discussion just as a matter of coincidence this week. I'm involved with my profession more on the labor side of bills and following those, and not always keeping up with this one. So this one almost slipped by, but I'm glad we have the opportunity, and I'll get that information out. Loretta, question?
Well, not a question. I just wanted to thank you so much for writing that letter, if you will, on behalf of the Recycling Committee. It was very much to the point, very clear, and I think it will speak well for to the legislators that we are concerned, and we do support this bill. It's wonderful. Thank you, Mitch.
Great. Now, with the way the process will work, as you know, the ways of getting bills passed is not an easy one. If this does get voted out of committee favorably and goes to the full House and full Senate, we will need an additional push, because then we'll need to make sure that our legislators know that this is something we favor. And any other legislators you may know from other acquaintances or other contacts you have throughout the state. We certainly want to make sure that all our legislators are aware when it comes to, if it does, and hopefully does, comes to a vote in the full House or full Senate or both. Great. So at this time, we've pretty much finished all of our business with the exception of our guest speaker. So I want to, it started, I pretty much, you've seen, this committee has seen part of one of Jennifer's presentations when I borrowed it from her and did it on a shared screen one time and showed you part of what she had done with recycling and some of the things that her authority does. So I want to turn the rest of the meeting over to Jennifer Heaton-Jones, who is the Executive Director of the Housatonic Resource Recovery Authority, and let her tell us a little bit about the glass collection that Susan, I want to thank you for bringing this up at the last meeting, and which spurred me to contact Jennifer and leads us to where we are today. So Jennifer is sharing her screen, and take it away.
Oh, thanks, Mitch. I'll just give a little quick intro for those of you who don't know that HRA is 12 member towns on western side of Connecticut, and we're actually growing. We are looking to add the town of Roxbury and Wilton by July 1st of 2021. So bear with me while I deal with my technology here. So just to give a little background as to why we decided to separate glass from the mixed stream. In the beginning, it had a lot to do with our tip fees. We were seeing at the town level, we went from a $10 a ton tip fee in 2015 all the way to $94 just this past year. Have started to see it slightly go down, and that's because we have a change in our contract. But when it was at 37.5, I would never imagined it to be at 94. At 37.5, I reached out to Oak Ridge and said, how do we stop the bleeding? This is ridiculous, $37.50 for mixed recycling. And they told me at the time that glass was the solution, that if we remove glass, we would reduce the cost of our tip fees significantly because it's such a negative number. So I took a trip to their material recovery facility. I don't know if any of you have been to a material recovery facility. Anyone?
We took a trip a couple of years ago to City Karting in Stamford. For those who were on the committee at the time, it was certainly eye-opening, and we were supposed to visit Oak Ridge and Shelton about a year ago, and then we had this thing called the pandemic.
Right.
So it has been on our bucket list for the past year, and when the pandemic ends, we are planning on taking a trip over to Oak Ridge and get where our own recycling goes to take a field trip. But thank you for this.
It's worth it to kind of understand what happens to the material. And I have been, I can't tell you, dozens of times for different reasons, for different analysis, different conversations. But this time when I went, I took a different eye on glass, a look that I had never took before. And I'm going to show you, it's like a 3-second video, but I want you to listen. You hear it? It's
Yep.
glass. Sounds like glass, right?
Yep.
Yes.
It does not look like glass. So this is Murph glass. Sorry, this was a shocker. So this is what a pile of it outside and a large close up. So glass is highly contaminated with bits of paper, bottle caps, batteries, ketchup packets. I mean, you name it. If it's 2 inches minus, it is in the glass pile. From, if you can see it, a fork.
Yep.
There's, I mean, you can pick out lots of different, there's another fork, straws, there's a nip. So if it's 2 inches minus, it will never get recycled and captured. The other thing that came to mind was, is really glass the problem? Or is it the other items? It's both. But it's interesting to think that one of the reasons why we have such high contamination is the lack of knowledge from our residents. They just don't understand that this bottle cap can't be recycled unless it has a ride. It has to go on the bottle. And these small bits of paper and other caps need to be attached to other items in order for it to be recycled. And some things just will never get captured, like a prescription bottle. Shredded paper doesn't belong in mixed stream. So we have a problem beyond the glass, but our focus right now is glass. So we started this campaign to source separate our glass, only beverage and food containers. So this is what is acceptable in our glass collection program. If it was a vessel that contained food or beverage, we take it. All the other items that folks believe are glass, looks like glass, or maybe is like a drinking glass is glass, but porcelain, terracotta is not glass, but it breaks like glass, or mirror, or window glass, or glass from a perfume bottle are not acceptable to make bottle to bottle. A lot of the other types of glass, like mirrors and windows, they melt at a different rate. So that's a contaminant to the food and beverage containers. So we don't accept them. So we started a program, and I'm not even giving you all the legislative details that we went through to get this program started, but we started, before we launched it in all 12 of our member towns, we launched it in Bethel, Reading, and Ridgefield. This was the first container in Ridgefield. This was the launch. And residents started putting in their glass, and we thought it was beautiful. It looks beautiful. It's glass. And we were sending it to Strategic Material in South Windsor, Connecticut. So from Danbury to South Windsor is about an hour and a half. And these are some photos of the facility at South Windsor. Strategic Material is a company. They have 50 plants in the United States. And their focus is glass cullet, and they make material that can go into bottle of bottle or fiberglass. So this is the facility. Here's another video that this is the machine that picks up the bottle caps. It's a large magnet, and this is what it does. It takes up all the bottle caps. And then they have a blower that removes all the paper from the bottles. And then they optically sort the bottles from green, brown, and clear. And they have an RD department that makes sure that the quality of the material that they're selling is high. And this is the material they create for either fiberglass or sandblasting. So unfortunately, it started getting rejected. Why? Because our residents were putting other items besides glass containers, like plastic bottles or terracotta pots or jars still with food contamination inside them. And they didn't want that material. There's plastic bags, laundry detergent bottles, and so on. So we had to switch gears, but in the meantime, we still continue to collect glass. And this was some of the data as of February of 2021. We've collected over 400 tons of glass from the 3 starting communities, and we recently added Newtown. All of our communities will soon have a glass container. We're just waiting for the town of New Milford, and then we will launch a regional campaign. The material is now going to urban mining in Beacon Falls. We've been waiting a very long time for urban mining to come online, but they had a lot of delays because of COVID, and they started taking our glass in December. Their facility is designed to take MRF glass, that dirty MRF glass that you saw in the previous photos. The facility is able to screen out the 2-inch minus and optically sort the glass. It's not designed to take this material. So guess what? We got hit again with contamination. Considered contamination for urban mining. Even though they can take dirty MRF glass, they can't take anything larger than 2 inches because it doesn't go through their screens. So we determined that the containers that we were supplying, if you remember the photographs in the previous photo with the gentleman putting the glass container inside, they were large sliding doors. We removed those doors and put in smaller holes so that the residents couldn't just dump a container of material, what they believe is glass, but maybe it's contaminated from their garage, into the container to hopefully slow down some of the contamination. We also have public education material on site at every one of our containers. So this is a weatherproof container with some flyers, and again, some more signage about what can and can't go in the container. In Newtown, at the transfer station in January, we did a characterization study of the material, had a group of volunteers help us separate the material out into different categories. It was a brutally cold day. It started to snow, and glass is heavy. We moved 2.5 tons of glass that day by hand, but we found a lot of contamination, including propane cylinders and plastic bags, food, perfume bottles, and containers with food in them. This is a candle jar, not acceptable. This is actually a vodka bottle, but it has a plastic wrap around it. So this is a procurement issue with the manufacturers. Someone believed their glass blender was recyclable. And this wine bottle, actually it's for mead. It's made out of the state of Maine in a porcelain bottle, so creates confusion on the part of the public thinking, well, it's a wine bottle. Why can't I recycle it in the glass container? So here's the study. The data from the study showed that 50% was wine bottles, 10% was food containers, 10% was liquor, 4% was non-liquor, which would have been Snapple bottles, 8% was beer. This was interesting because this transfer station does not have a redemption container for like the Scouts or some nonprofit to take them. And we believe this number would probably be 0 if they did. And then 16% was broken glass. We just couldn't sort it. It was too broken. And then very small amount of contamination, what we call true contamination, trash and recycling. But the most important thing to look at is look at the wine and liquor bottles, right? That is
they are easy to rinse out.
That is why the expansion of the bottle bill would be very significant for municipalities. Why are we burdened with all of this? Why should we have to bear the logistics, the operations, and the cost of source separating this material and getting it to urban mining? And this, I think, is really important. This is close to my last slide. I just want you to consider the carbon footprint of what we're doing when it comes to recycling. The green section is curbside single stream pickup. This is glass in our single stream. The hauler comes to the homeowner's house, they pick up their mixed recycling, it's driven to a transfer station, it's tipped. It's then loaded onto a truck and driven to a material recovery facility where it's dropped, tipped, loaded with a front end loader, sent through the processing, the energy that it takes to process it, tipped back out on a floor where it's then loaded back onto a truck, driven to urban mining or wherever. Perhaps in our case, just before urban mining, it's sent 500 miles out of the state of Connecticut to landfill for alternate daily cover. And even after it goes to urban mining, it still needs to be processed and cleaned, and there's still residual waste that is then shipped to a waste to energy plant. With the blue section, this is glass picked up separately at the curb. So the homeowner would have a container for mixed recycling and for glass. The glass is then taken to the transfer station, put on a tipping floor, and the glass, it's separately taken straight to urban mining. The red is our program. The residents take the material to the drop-off, put it in a container, a 20 or 30 yard container. The container itself is picked up on a truck and driven straight to urban mining. In the yellow, this is the redemption system. Redemption center, it's source separated, it's clean, it's taken on a truck to a processor, to a facility where there is no cleaning required for the residual. It's just the process of putting it into cullet. It reduces the carbon footprint significantly just in transportation and handling. This is why we should support the bottle bill of expansion and modernization. And just to end, that recycling and waste issues can be confusing, and public education and outreach is so important, and your type of group, our recycling committee, is really important to be engaged with your community and help break down the barriers and straighten out these crazy lines and give clear communication to the public. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, Jennifer, first, thank you very, very much. That was extremely informative to us and everyone else watching. I applaud your efforts, and I also give you the Perseverance Award because we've had some of our setbacks, especially with plastic bag recycling. It's amazing how you've kept going even after the South Windsor facility, fell apart and everything else is going on. I've got a couple of quick questions, and I'm certainly open it up to the rest of the committee. You showed in I was thinking about this before you showed that last second to last graphic with the colors. So right now, if you just recycle from home for residential pickup, there's no separation right now. You'd have to bring it to the transfer station.
Currently in our region, yes. So when we launch the full program, we will be encouraging our haulers to provide collection of glass separately. The incentive for them is currently the mixed recycling tip fee is $81, where if they bring the glass separate, it's $35. So it's a significant reduction. And given that we know from our data that glass can be anywhere between 20 and 25%, at least on average. It could be as high as 30%, depending on the homeowner, how much glass they produce. That's a significant tonnage reduction for their tip fees.
Yes. Can I ask a quick?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can you just, Jennifer, this was a great presentation. Can you explain a little more the tip fee? I'm just not 100% clear. Is it just based on weight? Is that how that's determined, what's considered tip?
So the tip fee is actually calculated by the composition of the material. They take 1,000 tons of material from the material recovery facility and determine what's the percentage of each material. So what's the percentage of glass? What's the percentage of aluminum, plastic, paper, cardboard? It's broken down into their components. Each of it has a weighted value based on their commodity, the commodity value. and what we call an ACR, the average commodity revenue. And that is then determines the tip fee, includes the processing too, so the processing cost. Our tip fee happens to also include the transportation from Danbury to Shelton. So it's a little bit on the higher side because it does include transportation for the vendor.
Thank you.
Other questions? No other questions? Jennifer, I saw the container you had at your transfer station said Oak Ridge on it, but the material's not going to Oak Ridge. So how'd you work that out?
So because Oak Ridge has our contract for the management of our solid waste and recycling in our system, and they actually run all 3 of our HRRA transfer stations. I collaborated with them for this program because they do run the material recovery facility, and it was their idea to take the glass out of the single stream. And so utilizing their desire for it to happen and us willing to make the effort, we negotiated that they would help us provide the containers for us at each of our transfer stations and provide the transportation from our municipal sites to urban mining.
That's great. Which is the Oak Ridge facility that you use now also Shelton like ours, or is it somewhere else? Is there a different facility?
We use the same facility that you do in Shelton.
Interesting. Good.
Jennifer, thank you very much. And congratulations on the fabulous website that HERA has. It is just mind-boggling. One of my questions is, are towns that aren't participating in the group of 12 are able to sign up for any of the Zoom informative classes, such as the composting class, or is that just for members?
No, you are welcome to sign up for any of my classes.
Oh, great.
So many of our classes were funded through a grant through Connecticut DEP, and I felt that it was really important that I open it up to any person throughout the entire state if they want to participate.
That's great. Do you know of any glass manufacturers in Connecticut that are using cullet besides urban mining and its uses in their products, but that melt the glass and make new bottles?
Not in the state of Connecticut. Unfortunately, we do not have a glass manufacturer. There was one in the state of Massachusetts, and they closed a few years ago. That's one of the reasons why we had such an issue with glass, because they did close. They were Strategic Materials' biggest customer. Mm-hmm. But this is another bill that you should be aware of and you should support. It is bill number 928. So Raise Bill 928 is an act concerning recycled content for products sold in Connecticut. So it's a minimum content bill. Unfortunately, the language right now is basically recommendations for recycled content requirements written by the commissioner to the state General Assembly. And it's to develop such recommendations to consider recycled content standards from other states and jurisdictions. I don't think we need to do a study bill. We don't need a recommendation. We need the state legislator to set a standard right now for 30% recycled content, minimum content for glass bottles. Creating that minimum recycled content would force supply and demand within the state of Connecticut, and we would need clean source separated glass, and they would have a product. So I hope that you will all look at that bill as well and consider sending supportive testimony with send supportive testimony with the suggestion for modified language.
Resourcing that glass would be difficult. It would be a challenge.
Would it be a challenge? Is what you're asking? If
right.
Not if the bottle bill is expanded. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They complement each other.
Because Jennifer, help me out here, or for everyone's sake, the glass that's going to urban mining is being used for what product?
It's actually it's a great product. So they make a product called Positive, and it's industrial filler for cement. And you should look up their product. ONG is backing their production, their facility, their business. Positive is the name of the product. It reduces the CO2 emissions from cement manufacturing like by 50%. It's enormous. So what they're doing is great. I absolutely support urban mining in what they're trying to achieve in the product that they have created. But I don't believe that Murph glass is the only type of glass they need. They just happen to have, they've created a solution for Murph glass, which is great. We'll always have Murph glass because even with the expansion of the bottle bill, you know, first of all, you're always going to have residents who are lazy and who don't want to redeem their glass bottles. You're also always going to have glass that goes to the single stream because of pickle jars and etc. So we're always going to need a solution for Murph glass, but at the same time, there's no reason why if we had an expanded bottle bill, that glass could also not go to urban mining. At the end of the day, they need glass. It's not Murph glass they need glass. The beautiful thing about urban mining as well, they can take Pyrex dishes. They can take some porcelain. Wow. They can take a toilet. So where strategic material can only take food and beverage containers, urban mining can take beyond food and beverage containers to make their industrial filler.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I missed this. So you're saying that Oak Ridge is shipping it from your transfer stations to urban mining directly?
Our source separated glass, they are taking it directly to urban. Any of the Murph glass, any of the glass that's coming out of the material recovery facility that we call Murph glass is also going, they also have a contract with urban mining, and their Murph glass is going to urban mining.
So, excuse me if I missed this. Are they paying you, or are you paying them? What's the monetary value of this?
Urban mining gets a tip fee for our glass as well as Murph glass. The reason they can justify the tip fee I can see for Murph glasses, remember there's a lot of residual contamination, that paper, the bottle caps, etc. They have to sort that out. It costs them to process the material, and then there's residual. It costs them to dispose of it at a waste to energy plant. Our glass, on the other hand, there's not as much processing, but there's still some contamination that they have to deal with, bottle caps, the paper, etc. So yes, we pay, they don't pay us.
But you pay them less than you're paying Oak Ridge, or no?
We pay Oak Ridge $10 a ton from our municipalities. So just so you understand that there's a difference between the tip fee for private haulers and there's a tip fee for our municipalities. The municipal recycling tip fee is negotiated at $10 a ton from now until 2029. So because the $10 tip fee is the sort of the ceiling for our mixed recycling, we made an agreement the glass would also be at $10 a ton. It wouldn't be any more or less. It's $10 a ton. And but again, the recycling tip fee for private haulers is $81 a ton. They negotiated whatever they're paying urban mining is what they're paying urban mining. I have to believe it's $10 or less.
Okay. But still, your tip fee for the glass and your tip fee as a municipality going to Oak Ridge is far less than the outside haulers, right?
Yes, yes, by $70-something.
It's a lot. And the last question I had was, so the glass that you collect that goes to urban mining, you said goes into this cement type of product. Where's the glass that comes out? It goes into the redeemable machines at all the supermarkets and elsewhere go?
Bottle to bottle. So it goes to strategic material and is made into bottle to bottle.
Okay. So that is being pretty much 100% recycled glass to glass.
Oh yes, it's so clean. That's the beautiful thing about the bottle system, the bottle bill system, is it's, you know, a bale of aluminum is clean aluminum, where a bale of aluminum coming out of a material recovery facility will always have some contamination in it. You know, the optics, the eddy currents aren't always going to get everything out. And that's for all of the material, PET, etc. So the reverse vending machines that take the redeemables at our grocery stores or even at some of our redemption centers source separate that material and bale it, and it is a clean, high commodity market value.
Well, it was quite an education.
Yeah.
People that are pretty much on top, I'm still learning. So, any final questions for Jennifer? Or Jennifer, anything else you want to add?
No, thank you for the opportunity to speak to your group tonight. I hope that I've helped guide you to make some decisions. I think the bottom line is, are you interested in source separating glass? I encourage you to continue looking into it. I would say you might want to hold off and watch what happens with the bottle bill. And if there is a success and we see an expansion of wine and liquor bottles passes, then it may be something where you could design something, a smaller program, because you wouldn't need the same volume containers if we saw that transition with such the large volume of wine and liquor being pulled out. But you're still gonna, if you're interested in separating the other types of glass and getting it to urban mining, it's not such a bad idea because you can see the carbon footprint.
Right. Well, some we'll have to consider going forward. So, but thank you so much for the education and what you're doing, and congratulations. You're really setting a high bar and also a leader in this, and it's very much recognized throughout the state. I first met you, if you will, on your webinars with CCM, and enjoyed, talking to you about the progress you've made, and really, really appreciate you taking the time tonight. So. If there's no other questions, we'll let Jennifer go. And I don't think we have anything else for the meeting. So unless anybody has anything else that has not been covered, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
But wait.
Oh, I'm waiting. Go ahead, Loretta.
Oh, wait.
I do have a question that I think should be addressed outside of our television. We should sort of go into an executive meeting, if you would. Could we do that just for like 2 minutes?
Jennifer, thank you very much. Let you go.
You're welcome. And if anyone has any
Thank you.
questions, you can email me anytime. So have a great night.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good luck.
Bye.
Loretta, unfortunately, the only way to go in executive session is to say what it's about, and has to be about something that falls under executive session purview, which would either be a personnel issue,
Right.
about buying or selling land, which I'm sure we're not doing, or something to do with negotiations, which I don't think we're negotiating anything that would.
No, it's a personnel.
I'm going to bow out. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Susan.
Susan. Have a great night.
Susan.
Good seeing you.
Loretta, why don't you and I take that offline then together? Is that right?
Okay, sure.
I don't know if it's appropriate at this point, but you and I will talk about. All right?
But tonight,
Yeah.
everybody else lost. Yeah, that's fine.
We'll close the meeting and you and I will talk.
When is our
Okay.
next meeting? Do we have a
Our
date for
next,
the next?
that's right. So our next meeting is, it's a good point. Thank you. Thank you very much, Wendy. Our next meeting is April 21st. April 21st is also the town budget hearing.
Oh,
Just want to didn't know if that was something that would cause people besides myself to possibly have a conflict. I'll make it work if that's the best date for people.
We
But I
can
wanted
change
to
it.
bring it to your attention. Okay,
why not change it?
let me just look quickly at a calendar then to see what we can. It says April 21st. Would you be okay with the following day, April 22nd, a Thursday?
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, if Wednesdays are better, how about the following Wednesday, April 28th?
That's probably better.
That would be
for me.
fine.
Yeah.
That's better?
Hmm.
So
Wednesday or
Someone-
Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah,
The Wednesday.
Tuesday's
it was a
also-
Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Was that, does somebody want to make a motion to either one of those?
Make a motion
For which,
I'll second it.
for
Chris?
the Wednesday, the 28th.
Wednesday, the 28th. Okay, is there a second?
Me.
Second, Eileen. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of changing our next meeting, then it becomes a special meeting, which just means we have less ability to change the agenda. Moving it from April 21st to April 28th. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Is there any, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Yep, I get that from Loretta, second by Chris. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. It was a little bit longer tonight, but there was a lot to do. Look forward to seeing everybody at
Great
Shredding
meeting.
Day. And certainly thank Jennifer for her time with us tonight. I think it was very educational.
Oh,
I want to wish everybody happy Passover, happy Easter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
good.
Likewise.
Very
Thank you. All right, we are adjourned at, where's my, 8:34.
All right, thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you,
seeing
everybody.
everybody.